are saying it. And that's what I'm referring to say, how did we negotiate for the end of that contract?
Yeah.
If you lose your job, if you lose your mobility because of a car accident or an illness, we have not talked about who are we to be to one another. You are not talking about money. That's one. Culture is another. Traditions is another. Conditioning is another. People who, women, the woman is making 2-3 times the money, but she's still conditioned to see her man as the provider. She's the one providing. When is she to let go to say, wait a minute, when it comes to money, I'm bringing all the money home. Honey, how do we enjoy this money? And not, no, I'm the woman, this is my money, as per my culture or my tradition, you are the man, you are supposed to be the provider, and if you don't have it together, you are broke, you are whatever. When do we get ourselves out of that mess?
Yeah.
Because the conditioning from 2,000 years ago and 100 years ago, it's still with us. When do we evolve in those things? So a woman who is doing well and still expecting her man who doesn't have what it takes to be at her level and then look down on him, something is not in place.
Yeah.
The same way a man who is making all the money and looking at his wife as a housewife and looking down on her, he didn't become successful without her. Just like as the woman who is successful will not retain that without his support. Where are we creating those avenues to be realistic and complacent in who we are in terms of our abilities?
Yeah. Yeah.
If your man is broke, how are you helping him? Yeah. If your woman is not educated, how are you helping her? So the unrealistic expectations is what needs fixing.
Yeah.
The unmet expectations need a discussion. If you have yourself elevated on a pedestal where it's like, no, we drive Lamborghinis, the contract comes to an end. The Lamborghini is not paid off yet. It must go back to wherever. How did you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah.
How realistic were you to say, we can afford this and we can afford that, we can do this, we can go on vacation, mostly to Europe. I don't know why. Africa is big enough. But that's what people do. When these things are not in place anymore, because life is life, and life can change, how have you prepared yourself?
Absolutely.
And where is that conversation for the two of you to still remain one? When those opportunities, when those challenges show up.
Absolutely. Now, on the issue of this so-called passion killings, whatever.
There's no passion in this kind of killing. It's toxic, murderous murder.
Yeah. Let me still conclude this question because I have this feeling that, in most of the cases, you'll hear that people were stabbed to death or whatever over issues of infidelity. That is, for me, the main cause of that. There are pockets of other reasons that you find along the way, but the most one is a person perceived to be unfaithful and this and that. What drives people into having multiple relationships?
Entitlement.
And can partners realistically actually stomach that? Because it's easier said than done. Oh no, just leave, walk away, which is actually the ideal way. But a lot of people simply cannot, they don't possess that wisdom.
That's why at the beginning I said, be grown enough, be mature enough to know what are you offering and what can you receive.
Yeah.
I'm your partner. You are not my property. I'm your partner, and I'm your partner. Life is a transaction. All relationships are transactional. We get married because we have come to say, through thick and thin, for richer and poorer, we will make life. It's a transaction we have worked out. If that transaction and the conditions and the environment to that transaction cannot be maintained, we divorce. But where are we to know, we wanted to go east. That road is blocked. We never negotiated on going west. Let's go our separate ways. Not force the way to east when that road is blocked. The sense of entitlement, attachment. When you see that I cannot live without a person, the person cannot live without me. The whole thing of possession. You are my property. You are my this. You are my that. When we are supposed to be two independent people who are interdependent, who choose choice, we decide to say, let's live life together. And not, I'm dependent on you, or I am obligated to you, or no. Yeah. Because in the absence of a clear understanding of who are you to me and who am I to you, and how can we handle challenges and the good times and the bad times, when things come, I can panic and lose my cool. When things come, I can lose my sense and do something that, oh, I never meant to harm him. I never meant to harm her. But how did you get there? So on the inside, what were you working with over the last 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 years to get to that point?
So last question. We have 30 seconds left only. People tend to simplify the reasons for cheating, for example. People say, if you already have a woman, you have sex. If it's about sex, you actually get enough of that. What still do you want to have sex with another person again? What drives these things? Because literally you have exactly what you want. Is it the looks of other people? What is it?
Greed, our conditioning in terms of who we are, who is superior, who is inferior, who is the head of household, who's not, who can have 5 wives and who cannot. All of those things play a role.
Yeah.
The whole thing of I am me and I need to please me.
Is there a perceived status that comes with a man who sleeps around that somehow you are perceived to be?
It is still there. You are a player. You are a gigolo. You are Mr. Man. When it is the other opposite, the woman is trash, the woman is whatever. It's still there. Yeah. We still have cultures and traditions that applaud men who have more than one woman. That's a man. That's a bull. We are not bulls. We are human beings. Yeah. We are here to serve one another in relationships. And that does not get the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
To be a servant to your partner. Yeah. Your partner being a servant to me on boundaries and terms of engagement that's healthy for each other. We don't have those conversations. And so when I'm entitled, when I feel like it, because when my wife cheats, oops, my wife is cheating, she is preferring Toivo, maybe I need to step out. No! How dare she violate me?
Yeah.
And so now I feel like entitled to do harm to her.
Absolutely.
Those are the things we don't discuss at length.
Absolutely. Kamane, thank you for coming through. I appreciate your views all the time.
We have had a comprehensive analysis in terms of what do we need to do, what is the critical path that we need to follow as a country to strengthen and implement these laws. So we have built capacity. For example, one key issue was the supervisory reach of the Financial Intelligence Center and NAMFISA over the entities that they supervise. Yeah. So we needed to enhance the capacity first of all, get some more human resources, build those resources, and then in the Namibian Police and the ACC and the Office of the Prosecutor General, how do you investigate the parallel financial benefits that comes with a predicate or underlying offense? So in other words, if Brian was arrested for corruption, did he benefit from that corruption? What is the financial and other benefits? Can we investigate this as a standalone or parallel to the main charge? So those are some of the capacities. And then in the Office of the Prosecutor General, capacitating them on prosecuting these technical and complex crimes. For example, building on virtual assets. How do you prosecute virtual assets? How do you investigate virtual assets?
Yeah.
So with the assistance of international technical partners, we were able to build capacity, and we are continue to build that capacity and ensure that we retain, because, and I think that's the important part, is that we need to retain the capacity that we have built and build on that, enhance that capacity within the institutions. For example, at the FIC, we have taken a position where we have said that we will no more recruit from the likes of the Namibian police and the Office of the Prosecutor General, because we weaken the link at some point.
Yes.
We have close collaboration with NAMRA, for example. It's one of the institutions that has been part of this journey all along. So we have close collaboration with NAMRA, the tax offense component within these predicate offenses.
Yes.
Is Brian Asap, did he pay his tax? So we refer a lot of our suspicious transactions report, once we have done the analysis, to NAMRA to assess tax compliance, and NAMRA then obviously deals with those individuals in terms of their law and their mandate.
Dr. Asap, is it your work that is responsible for those of us with bank accounts now being familiar with the phrase KYC and all the know your client rigmarole that we have to go through?
Unfortunately, it's not my work, it's Namibia's work. All of us has that responsibility.
Yes.
As I said, it is our responsibility to ensure that Namibia is not labeled as a money laundering hub or a tax haven. So it's all of our responsibility. It is not an FIC responsibility. FIC is an institution created by government to ensure that we implement the laws that government, which we have mandated with a social responsibility. So government has passed that law and established the Financial Intelligence Center as a vehicle to ensure that our Ghetto and Brian's future and their social stability and financial stability is secured and maintained.
Point well taken. Please elaborate a little bit about the oversight over non-financial organizations and professionals. How has that been improved?
So what we have done is what the FIC does, and also NAMFISA and the Bank of Namibia, is to employ what we call a risk-based perspective or a risk-based supervision plan. So we would naturally look at what is the size of a particular industry. Let's use lawyers. I'm a lawyer, so let me play at home. So we will look at what is the size of the law fraternity. Who are the big firms? Who are the medium firms? Who are the small firms?
Yeah.
What is the financial profile of these institutions? And then what is the clientele of these institutions? For example, you get law firms that deal predominantly in transfers of mortgages. So we would, and that's one of the key areas that we look at. So we risk categorize them, and then we implement a plan on a 3-year cycle. So if you are in a high risk or flagged as a high risk entity, we would probably visit you more regular than Brian that is a low risk entity.
Yeah.
And that's the methodology that we employ to ensure that our oversight is sufficient and aligned to international best practices.
Okay. Dr. Asap, you mentioned about the 13 areas that needed to be addressed. How far have we progressed now?
So what has happened since 2024, the way the FATF works and the grey listing process, or what is called the ICRG, the International Cooperation Working Group. So what is happening there is that you need to submit, or a country that is in that process need to submit periodic reports to the FATF.
Okay.
And then essentially the coordinating committee, which is spearheaded by the FIC, needs to present that report in person periodically. So every 3-4 months since 2024, we had to report on it. And we were making steady progress. Again, as I said, what we have done from a tactical and strategic point of view during the grey listing was to determine the critical flight path. And all these action items has got a due date.
Okay.
In common parlance, it's an audit.
Yeah.
And an audit, there's a due date by which you have to remedy those findings. And that's what we did as the National Coordinating Committee. We set a critical path according to which we had to fly, and we were able, as a matter of strategy, we submitted a voluntary report. Our very first report was a voluntary report, just to understand and assess the orientation of the reviewers. And at that point in time, we already got partially upgraded to partially compliant.
Okay.
And that gave us an indication as to what do we need to do as a country, what do we need to do at institutional level, and how do we take along the Namibian nation and communicate and ensure that we have a sustained political commitment, which has never wavered, by the way. So for us, that was important. And we are now at our fifth report, and our fifth report has yielded the results that we got last week, where the FATF initially indicated that Namibia has substantially complied and warrants an on-site visit now to the country within the next month or two. So it's quite an intense time for us now. We are working around the clock to make sure that we prepare all the stakeholders and that we share the information that is needed, and how we should approach this on-site assessment that will be conducted.
Very good, and congratulations, and thank you very much. What's the next steps? And also, once we are off the grey list, what is the responsibility that each Namibian should take upon themselves to take us into the future?
Very good. That's a very, very fundamental question, and let me start with the first part of the question. So where we are now, what we need to do, obviously the country needs to prepare all the stakeholders for the on-site. Yesterday I just got the date, the timelines, and our on-site is currently scheduled for the 23rd to the 25th of April.
Okay.
So that's when the on-site examination will be, or assessment will be held. So we need to prepare from now until that time. We need to engage all the stakeholders, starting with the Anti-Money Laundering Council, which is the policy advisory council within our country, and then have individual discussions with institutions, civil society, public sector, private sector, because that is the range of stakeholders that the examiners or the reviewers will be consulting during the 2 days that they will be here.
Okay.
And once they are done, they will then report their findings to us first as a country, and that will then be tabled at the FATF plenary in June in Paris. Okay. And at that point in time, Namibia will then be considered to be finally taken off the grey list. So now, grey listing is really about compliance, but for us as an institution and the council as the policy advisor on these matters, it's not really about compliance. Is a byproduct. For us, and your question, what does each and every Namibian has to do to make sure that we strengthen? I think we should not tolerate any form of corruption. We should not tolerate any form of fraud. We should report all these types of crimes to the authorities. Make sure that, if you suspect something, report it to the authorities.
I spoke about those components from the beginning, the issues of morality, the legal position around the issues, and the complications around all these matters, not only for Namibia, but for other countries.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying now.
But then Toivo, when you're looking around health-related issues, legal is something that me and you are making up. So it's Parliament that passes this law.
Yes.
So, but then when it comes to HIV infection, so it doesn't care about the legal position. But you as a country need to institute measures that will ensure that your citizen and your population is protected.
Yeah.
So you can't now say, no, just because we have this law that speaks to this, people must just die. You made that law. Why are people supposed to die on a law that you made?
I get that.
So it's not natural.
I get that.
Yeah.
But if you start distributing condoms in jail, you are becoming a catalyst and a facilitator of an activity that the law says is actually illegal.
So the law says an activity is illegal, but the Constitution is clear around it. The dignity of the person needs to be protected. That person must have access to health facility like everybody else. So there is also another position. So what are we saying? The Constitution is supreme.
Don't have
And that
sex.
is because you are prolonging it as a government,
Yeah.
violating your own constitution. So your own constitution is clear. It has simplified everything for you. All that you need to do is enact. Currently, under the law, sexual activities are still happening in prison, irregardless. But then there is an element of privacy if you are taking it outside. So because my space is my space, I don't want you to get into my space. What I do in my private capacity is up to, because I don't get into your space. What gives somebody a right and a position to think I can get into another person's space to decide as to what that person is doing? But here we are talking in terms of a prison context when a public opinion is supposed to matter. But then the health of the individual within that setting needs to be taken into consideration.
So somebody commented in that very news article also, I can't remember who said, I think it was Sharonese Bush,
Yeah.
who said that prison by its very design is also meant to take away some privileges from those that are incarcerated and charged for criminal activities. So sex can't be one of those privileges that we
No,
enjoy.
there is no privilege with regard. It's a coercive situation that is happening. So nobody is saying the prisoners are given the right to have sex. I don't know where that is coming on. So the privilege is already removed from you by the mere fact that you are incarcerated. So nobody says people in prison, one of the privileges they are supposed to have. So we saying having the condoms there doesn't mean we are giving them the privilege to have sex. The activity is already happening irregardless.
You see,
So
you
it
see,
is not
you-
a
you-
privilege. It's like saying, why are you giving them food? Why are you giving them water?
You see, I
You are spending a lot of money on food and water. So if it's about privileges, remove everything.
yeah,
Let them starve, because you are saying you are punishing these individuals.
yeah. But that line of argument, Habitus, is
Yeah.
the same as saying crime happens. It's not supposed to happen, but it's happening. And therefore, okay, then you can add to your argument, but your basis is that no, crime is already happening, so we can't do this or that because whether we do this or not, crime will still happen.
No, it's unrelated. This is a health right issue. Crime is completely an individual deciding, I'm going to do that. But then when it comes to health, so it needs to be in a position where you as an individual is aided to make decisions with regard to your health rights. So you are supposed to be in a position where you are accessing services without discrimination.
Yeah.
It's about your health right. You're not committing any crime. You're not stealing anybody's thing. So we're saying, no, this individual is incarcerated, he's in prison, but what other rights are there? Because the risk with regard to indulging. So people are indulging in sexual activities within this setting. And it's not only happening in Namibia, it's a worldwide thing, like I said at the beginning. But then what we're saying based on study and research from WHO and UNAIDS, countries that are doing it have reduced infections in this setting. Another thing that we are supposed to get from the correctional services is statistic. The information is not coming in terms of infections within this setting. People that are coming in, when they are out, what is their health status? Not that we need to know the individual who's coming out positive, just numbers, to really understand and have an idea around as to what. Because these people are getting back into society. How are they coming back into society? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, therefore, that because the way I see it now is that there's a structural issue there.
Yeah.
And the structural issue here is the law right now
Yeah.
that has been appealed in the Supreme Court. So if I'm a prison administrator, my duty. I've sworn to be faithful to the Constitution. You are arguing, of course.
Yeah, the Constitution guarantees you those rights.
yeah.
I don't know you sworn to what.
To uphold the law.
But you
also.
know, also the Sotheby law is not an the Constitution makes provision that all laws before independence still need to continue until they are repealed. These are apartheid colonial laws.
Absolutely.